Meeting ordered. First, do we have any citizens' comments?
No citizens comment.
None? So we move on to new business. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of January 5th. Is there any discussion? Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from December 5th.
Any discussion? Nope. Okay. So we have a motion and a second.
Make sure you get your vote.
What's that?
Then make sure you get your vote.
Yeah. Well, geez, you think I'm just gonna. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against it? Nope. All right, number 2, approval of minutes for the subcommittee special meeting of January 9th. Do I have a motion to approve that? These do have to all be done separate, don't they? Yep. One. There it is. Second.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion, yeah. We're good. All those in favor of approving the minutes of January 9th?
Aye.
Aye.
There it is. And with, say that, nobody against, I'm assuming. And we'll move on to approval of minutes of the subcommittee special meeting, I can't say committee today, January 24th. I'd take a motion to approve that too.
So moved.
All right,
Second it.
there we go. Let's just say, all those in favor of approval of the minutes of the special meeting of January 24th, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? Gonna cause a ruckus yet?
Yep, let's do it.
There it is.
No, I'm not. I say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now, number 4 is review of historic preservation plan with Russell Holter.
Okay, so I believe we have Russell and Susan on the Zoom with us. So everyone received in your digital packet, the full preservation plan. I did not print out copies because it is like 85 pages and I did not feel like killing a tree today. So hopefully you all took the time to review it. I also sent the couple of changes that I felt needed to be made to you guys that I had previously sent to Russell with a copy of my email kind of outlining what I thought needed to be changed. So hopefully you also reviewed that. So Russell, do you want to start and kind of just give a brief overview of where we're at? I feel we're in the home stretch, and so I think if you just gave us a brief summary of where we're at now, and then the commission can ask questions, or if they have any other items that they felt needed to be corrected, we could go through those, and I'll try to keep track and then send you an updated email after the meeting, if that works for you.
Perfect, thanks, Katie. Where we are at the moment is we're about at the 90 percentile towards completion. So yeah, we are on the home stretch. We knew when we circulated this that it was reviewable, but it does have some things on there that needed to be fixed. But we felt that it was at a level of completion where we could solicit comments from Alana and Joel and Katie, and then get the HPC commissioners' comments. From there, Susan has a myriad of her own comments that she would like to have addressed in there, but they're mostly contextual formatting and grammatical. We're looking for content type stuff from the Preservation Commission. Once we have that, we will be able to boil down the preservation plan, synthesize it to a level where we believe it would be appropriate to circulate it to the Idaho SHPO for review and comment. That's a 30-day period. Once we get those comments back, we would then address the state's concerns, bring it back to the Historic Preservation Commission, And the commissioners would then likely, and then Katie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, make a motion as to whether or not to forward that on to council.
Correct, yep, they would do a recommendation to council
council
for
consideration.
approval. Exactly.
I just want to say, Katie, I want to thank you for the comments that were provided by you and Alana and Joel. Is Joel there?
He is not.
Oh, I forgot. Did Joel, Groundhog's Day is a national holiday.
I will pass that along, because I'm sure that he will be interested. Those are his favorite. Okay, so from the commission, did you guys have anything specific that you had found? I have the ability, we have the full plan on the computer, so I can bring it up if we need to go look at any of the pages together.
Okay.
And then, like I said, most of the things that I had thought needed to be corrected were, there was some language on page 44 and page 45 as part of the goals and objectives, that I just felt were kind of making things this body's responsibility that are not this body's responsibility. And so I wanted to have those kind of reworded. One of them was about the property surveys. I don't like the word reluctant. And I think I made the suggestion that more appropriate wording would be like, given the expense and time commitment. We haven't participated in more survey work because it is expensive and it requires a lot of time from both this body. Yes, Kathy?
Did I hear you say that this could go potentially before council?
It will go in front of council at some point, yes.
And I shouldn't be here, correct?
It's not a legislative matter, it's not something someone can appeal, so you can be here for this.
Oh, I can be here.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a requirement from the state that we do,
Okay,
so,
that's fine.
I mean, if you guys choose not to approve, I don't know how that works with the state, and you can have that fight with Public Works, but
Okay, as long as you tell me I'm okay to be here.
yes, this is not an appealable item to you guys, it's just something that,
Sorry for the interruption.
not a problem. Good question. Okay, so that was page 44, and then page 45, again, I just thought there was a lot of HPC needs, I don't like that. I think that should be a could or should. And then, I think those were my big things. Couple things that are not your guys' responsibility, and should not be placed on your shoulders. And then just some wording items. Did anyone else, when you guys went through, did anyone else have specific items from specific pages that they wanted to? I really don't want to go through every page of this 85-page document.
Does Russell want a picture of the Capitol as it is? The drawing in here is very nice from 2021, but do you want an actual picture?
So there's a picture of
Sorry,
the
was that a
replica
question?
building.
Well, at the very beginning,
Oh, the drawing.
but that's fine. It looks great.
I kind of like the drawing.
I do too.
That one on page 4.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
I think it's quite readable at this point.
Yeah, I thought it contained everything that we had talked about, and it,
The consulars are wrong, and
yeah, and I had those, because, when this was first started, that was prior to us even going to the,
So you've changed all of page 9.
yes.
Katie has forwarded that information on to us, and we'll lump all that in there before it goes to the SHPO.
If you can keep up with us, you're doing well. We can't keep up with ourselves.
Right, ain't that true? Okay, so no one had any specific things from specific pages?
Caught the ones I was thinking of, so.
Okay, super. Okay, so
I think that on this, you said the inventory of the historical buildings, I think that's something that the state wants us to do.
It is something that state wants us to do. State doesn't fund us, so.
But I think
And
that-
while there are grant fundings, they're all matching grants. Nothing would pay for that outright. The last survey we did was a $30,000 survey. The state paid 10 of that. And that took like 3 years. So, I mean, unfortunately, right now the commission is very much in flux. We're down 2 members. We have a member who kind of can't show up for a while, and so we might be down 3 members after next month. We have a project in the works that if it doesn't get done, that jeopardizes future grant funding. So I don't feel like you guys are in a position to try to take on more work. And staff is definitely not in a position to take on any more work. You guys are more than maxing me out for the amount of time that is supposed to be allocated to this body. I mean, so I think that's always something to have in mind to continue to do, but to have it be, I don't like having it be very specific in the goals and objectives because that makes me feel like it needs to have a timeline item. And I think that's inappropriate given, the time that this body has, the money that this body has, which is none. I just don't think that's realistic.
Man,
Okay, so it doesn't sound like they have any other items besides the couple that I've previously sent you. So if you guys are gonna make the other changes that we already spoke about, were you able to get the information from Alana on that front page? Under the acknowledgements for like why? Because those are items that I don't know. I can reach out to her again, and see if we can track down that information if you haven't been able to get that from her yet.
Alana's not there?
No, she's not.
Okay, and, information on the front page, you talk about page 1?
No, on page 5, under acknowledgements.
Hold on a second, let me catch up here. Oops. Gotta get the mouse going in the right direction here.
Nope, totally understand. So in the email that I had sent, a couple weeks ago, I had put that Alana would need to provide the information on the water project that the plan was the mitigation to, because I don't have that information. So I was just
Right.
checking with you to see if she did send that to you, otherwise I can follow up with her to make sure that you get that information.
I haven't gotten anything from her recently.
Okay, I will follow up with her after the meeting then and make sure that she gets you that so that we can get kind of a more finalized draft of this done so that it can be forwarded to SHPO.
All right, I'm making feverish notes here. All right.
Okay, other than that, did you have any other questions for the commission? Or is there any other need for information?
Susan?
Susan's
You're
good.
muted.
No, I appreciated the input by the commission the last time we met with them, and felt like that gave us enough direction to make this reflective of your concerns and your priorities, so.
Yeah, and I thought you guys outlined all of those items that they came up with previously really well, so I thought that worked out. It now mirrors their priorities plan very, very well.
And Susan had an opportunity to talk to a couple of members of staff, including the police chief and the code enforcement officer, so that was very helpful.
Perfect. Okay, well then, if you guys don't have anything else, then I think we are good to go. Will staff be seeing another draft after you've made those couple of amendments before it goes to SHPO?
Yes, and do you want us to write the cover letter to Janet Gallimore?
Yeah, I would say that's appropriate.
Okay. All right, I'll prepare it for your signature.
Okay, super. Okay, I think we're good then.
Well, thank you for all your work. Most appreciated.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the goal was to make sure that it wasn't a gilded pony, but also I didn't want it to look like an old mule either, so
All right, we like that.
I was glad that.
Balance is
I'm
good.
hoping that, if it looked like an Appaloosa, that would be awesome. you know?
I think we came to that happy middle ground that we were hoping for, so. I think the plan is now very reflective of this body's goals with the input of, you know, SHPO's goals and things that are realistic for us to try to accomplish over the next 5 to 10 years.
Perfect. I'm
Awesome.
looking forward to have this ready for signature, and we'll get it off to SHPO, and then we need to give them 30 days, and so I don't think we'll have those comments back in time for the March meeting, but probably April,
Okay, that sounds great.
in theory.
Okay, I will tentatively put you on my April agenda, and then we'll just keep in touch for where SHPO is at in their process.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Thanks.
All right, no, thank you very much.
Okay, super, so. All right, so now Erin gets you all set up, super duper. Okay, so as requested, I have Linda Rose, our grant writer with us. She is gonna go over chapter 40, which is the city code's existing incentive program. Not that one, Erin, the slideshow, please. That one. Thank you. So she's gonna review the existing incentive program, and kind of go over a couple of points regarding if this body wants to explore doing a incentive program of their own. Yes?
Correct.
Super. Take it away.
It's listed in your priorities, I think, that you are interested in doing some type of incentives. And so I had been working with Joel on doing chapter 40, which is the business development incentives that the city has, and thought that that might work in conjunction, but those revisions are currently on hold. So the current, so I just started out with this slide to say if HPC wants to go forward with some type of incentive, then they would need to figure out how this differs from what's already available in the city code, what's already available through tax incentives, the state tax incentives, what those parameters might be. And the city attorney specifically wanted to have examples of what other cities have done and some validation that the city of Lewiston actually has the authority to do incentives. So those are some things you want to keep in mind. What's already available under the City Code Chapter 40 is economic development incentives and developer incentives. I can't read the screen, so I'm sorry. there's a glare on it, so I can't read what I wrote, but these incentives
are not specific to historic preservation, but would give a good framework as how to an incentive program might work.
Yes.
There we go.
So the commission wanted to look specifically at maybe finding a way to do an incentive program for homeowners. So Chapter 40's incentive programs would not be for homeowners, they would be for a developer or
Business.
a business, yes. But like Linda said, this is what we currently have in place, so this is a starting point.
Yes, and there are parameters. Mostly the program is meant to encourage the development of blight areas, I would say. So Article 1 is specific to businesses that want to expand or will utilize buildings that have been vacant for a year or more. And then Article 2 is to development specifically to blight areas. There just needs to be a public benefit in both of those. I neglected to put in here, the incentives are that the city can waive permit fees and costs associated with permitting. The limit is $50,000.
Permit fees, and what was permit fees, and the other one was?
Just permit building fees. There's a whole array of them, but any of those that fall within the permitting fees, we can.
So building fees, any of the trades, so plumbing,
Okay.
mechanical,
Just the fees.
electrical.
Okay.
It does not cover water and sewer hookups, though.
There are amendments to that chapter in progress those amendments have been put on hold because we're working on a strategic plan and the comprehensive plan. The amendments are basically grammatical. I think I already mentioned that there needs to be a public benefit. So it's not specifically benefiting the owner of the building or the business, but it's a benefit to the public. Other programs that are currently available are the Idaho State Preservation Tax Credit and the IRS Rehabilitation Credit, which you guys are probably aware of. There's just a summary of what those are. And also the IRS, of course. Those are just some options. Can I answer any questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Chapter 40.
Could we get a copy of that
Of the slideshow? Uh-huh.
sent to our email?
Yeah, I'm trying to coordinate that with articles here.
So
I
this
will
is
do that.
incentive sounds like limited to permitting fees
Yes. Okay. Under the current
under the current.
situation, yeah.
Limited to permitted.
Permitting fees, so
Permitting
like,
fees, and it's
So
only up
if
to
it- if it-
50,000. So
If
and
it comes to
not
that
only, I
level,
didn't
then
mean
it's,
so, okay.
yes, but so currently the way that works, I'm trying to think of an example. So a business comes in, and meets the criteria either by providing some sort of public, utility, extending lines, installing curb gutter and sidewalk in areas that are blighted, things of that nature, or are under the job creation portion where they're creating so many new jobs of a certain dollar amount, then that developer, when they applied for their building permit to build their structure or remodel a structure or whatever, if city council approved their incentive program request, then when they would go through the permitting process, instead of having to pay the fees for the building permit itself and the review, which is all of staff's time to make sure it meets all the applicable codes, that would get waived. And so then the permit reps just keep track. And so it goes up to that $50,000 mark, and then anything above that, then those permits would have fees. So that ends up benefiting not only the developer itself, but the other contractors that would work under that developer, because that would.
The subs.
Yes, all your subcontractors. So, you would have your building permit, you'd probably have mechanical, which is your heating and cooling, your ducting kind of stuff, plumbing, just plumbing, electrical, all of those would fall under that same umbrella, basically.
Perfect.
Sorry.
In regards to, because it says rehabilitation of historic buildings is one of the eligibility requirements on section 40-2. But I wonder if anybody's really taken advantage of that, because it's down below, the proposed business must create at least 15 full-time equivalent positions.
That's what I
And it
was
seems like a lot of
wondering,
these buildings, when, 2/3 of them are apartments, and you've got a hair salon, that might have,
Right, like 3 people,
five,
right?
3 to 5.
So we did have one person apply for it under that particular segment. But they were not bringing new business in, they were just moving their business from one building to another, and so they did not meet all the qualifications, and city council did not approve that one. But all in all, I think we've only had this hasn't been around for that long, only since 17. I think we've only had 4 applications so far.
I wonder if that
Really-
15 new employees limits people from applying for it.
Well,
This
and the
is-
wages that are required.
Not always, because I know that we had one that it was not the employee situation. I can think of one that was awarded and the employee count was part of it, because it was a business coming in that was going to hire people. And then we had one that came through and their eligibility was more on the newer improved public utility infrastructure. And they installed, not just for their site, but for a several block radius around them, a stormwater system. And curb gutter and sidewalk, I believe.
So I guess my 2 cents would be this in concern. So with that, the 15 employees, for a downtown business, if somebody wanted to purchase a property, right? And for instance, like me, and start a little antique store, you're not gonna have 15 employees. You might have 2, right, or 3. So I think that but somebody might be interested in purchasing the property, fixing it up, da-da-da-da. So is that something that maybe we could address down the road?
So remember, the whole reason that you guys asked for this is because one of the items you put in your priorities plan was coming up with your own. So this is what is currently in place, so that's why this is being presented to you, so that you understand what is currently available in city code. If you want to create your own, like Melinda showed on the first slide, you're gonna need to do the homework. You're gonna need to find other jurisdictions that have a program that benefits like an individual property owner or a homeowner to do a restoration of a building. You're gonna need to figure out what the kind of criteria are. You're gonna need to figure out
The
if,
process of finding that is research? What do
pretty
we-
much, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I mean, I would, yeah, internet research, so I would go to other communities. I mean, you could probably start with SHPO and be like, okay, who else has, maybe you start with CLGs, right? Other certified local governments, because there's 39 of them in the state. Most of those have a historic district, right? You could go look and see, do any of those have an incentive program? And then you could go from there and then reach out to that jurisdiction specifically and be like, how does your incentive program work? Who qualifies? What are your criteria? Where do you get your money? Because those are the questions that you guys are gonna need to answer if we're gonna try to figure out how to make something happen.
I did a little bit of that research too, and I came up with a city like in Illinois. And the city attorney was like, well, we can't use Illinois. So just remember to keep it in Idaho because we come down from Idaho code.
So a lot of that will already be built in.
Yeah.
To the language
Yeah,
and
but you
everything
can
else.
get the ideas
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
somewhere else, and then they can run, then we can look and see how code
Yeah, it doesn't meet
works.
what Idaho statute says.
And a lot of the
make it fit.
preservation associations, if you start getting into their articles and their newsletters and their stuff, kind of do a deep dive, they'll have stories like that and case studies of cities that do this and that. So, it's just gonna take some time and some digging, but
Get the list of the 39?
From SHPO, they can provide that to you. I think it might even be listed just on, it's a link, 'cause I'm pretty sure I printed it one time when I was trying to figure out how other CLGs handled making sure property owners were aware that they were in a historic district. I find it super helpful for that with the C of A stuff. But the list is available and it'll have contact information for each of those jurisdictions. And then like Leah said, I mean, you could definitely go to any of the other Preservation Alliance sorts of things and see if they have anything. But that would be your starting point, is figuring out, is there another jurisdiction that does their like own self-funded kind of grant program? How do they do it? Where do they get their money? What are their criteria? Who do they award to? I mean, those are the things you guys are gonna need to determine before we can figure out if it's a viable option or not.
Anyone else have any thoughts?
But I like the idea of exploring, trying to find some carrots
Yeah.
to offer,
Yeah, somebody's probably more than likely done something somewhere
Right. I
in
don't
this
think,
country,
Yeah, it's just a
but,
matter of finding it.
yeah.
we won't have to reinvent the wheel, but I think we could definitely make it fit for our community. Yeah, there's gonna be ways.
with so much that Lewiston has invested, the city and other groups in this downtown area, I think, giving people another reason to want to buy, own, but fix up and develop their
Mhm.
building would be
Right.
a real positive way to go to make historic preservation seem like a positive thing instead of a burden on the community,
Mhm.
so.
So should we just all kind of hop on the internet when we think about it and see what we can see and?
I think that would be the way to start. I mean, I
You know,
think
maybe come
at
back with
some
some
point,
examples.
maybe, you guys make a more concentrated effort. I think right now we have a project that we're working on, and
That's
we
what
should
I'm
complete that one
thinking.
out.
Yeah.
But just to get the idea rolling
Get
in
it
people's
spent.
heads.
And we're ready to pull out the next thing on our goal list.
And really, I
Yeah.
think if we use chapter 40 and try to kind of mirror some of that language in incentives,
so, I
and
mean,
maybe
there-
make it more specific again to individual
Just
property
direct us.
owners instead of businesses.
No,
Yep.
like she said, a framework.
Yeah, and if we, we got some very talented people on staff that can figure that out if we can do the work, so.
Yep, you find some comparables and we can start rolling with it, but
Mhm.
the impetus is on you guys to find those comparables and figure out like what you're thinking of for criteria, how that would be approved, how we would fund that, all of those items. Because that's how you get there. You need to figure out all the pieces before
So
you
you
can.
work with SHPO more than we do. What's the easiest contact process there? A website?
On the website, yeah. So we have a new, her name's Maria something. I haven't actually spoken with her.
Maria Rachel.
I usually just do my own digging on the SHPO site. I don't know that I've found them to be super helpful.
Don't encourage us here.
I have found more stuff just digging through their site on my own and then like going with the links, like mind mapping that situation and just like.
Rabbit holes.
I have found way more information by doing that, than I have by, calling someone up and trying to pick their brain. So,
Yeah, they don't like, well, none of us would enjoy cold calls and.
right. Well, and even, so I did a lot of cold calling when I was trying to figure out the certificate of appropriateness stuff and how other jurisdictions were doing it. And I called a lot of the other CLGs, like, as they're listed. Some of them were super helpful, very nice to talk to, were very excited to talk to someone from another jurisdiction that was doing a similar thing. Some of them had absolutely no idea what they were doing. Some of them don't do what you think they're doing. And a couple of them are larger jurisdictions, like Boise and stuff, harder to get to the right person. You end up going through a phone tree. But lots of those jurisdictions didn't mind me cold calling them at all. Were totally down to tell me whatever they knew, to ask me questions about what we do. So I found them, for the most part, almost everyone I talked to at another CLG city or county to be helpful.
Not necessarily the ship.
Wasn't that they're not helpful, they're just not gonna, if you're looking for
Something
very,
specific.
yes, if you're looking for very specific direction, that's not where you're gonna get from them. They give a lot of big picture stuff,
Right.
and then, you know, in general, their thought process and ideas of how we should run and the things we should be concentrating on are different than what we think we should do and we think we should concentrate on. So, I mean, like I mentioned from the preservation plan, I don't think it's the responsibility of this commission to forward the wants and needs of the state. They want and need to do stuff, then they can go ahead and do that. They can fund those things. I don't think putting that impetus on us is appropriate. You guys are in this community, you guys live and work here. I think those decisions should come from this community. They should be projects that are important to the people who are here.
I like that. Thank you, Katie.
Do what I can.
So we done with that?
Unless you guys have any other questions, I think we've done some talking about it, and maybe some people are gonna do some outside research and.
The only thing I might add to this is when we became, in this, when we became part of became certified or whatever, they did give us there's guidelines in there that they want you to follow from the state in order to get that compliance that you might wanna look at, because it's had some important things in there that I didn't even know when I was reading that.
Correct, and a lot of those we don't follow, because that would
Right.
require you guys to be like engineers and architects and
Well, not all of it.
registered.
Some of them were
historians
out
and
of our
everything.
element, but there's some good ideas there that I think is a good reference point to maybe, look at, because I hadn't even looked at
Sure.
that.
You talking about the CLG handbook?
Mhm.
Okay, I had a note on here wondering
Yeah,
if we had a copy of that. Is that in our?
I copied it all off at home, I can.
Okay.
I
It
don't
wasn't
know
in
that.
our binders.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, I think
It had
we
some
can
neat, it had, some things that didn't apply to us, but it had some that did, and I thought there were some good ideas in there
We
too.
could get that out at SHPO's.
I think it's on the
On the
SHPO
online,
website,
the
yeah.
state site, yeah.
Okay, so if we're done with that, we can move on to old business.
Proclamation for Historic Preservation Month in May.
Okay, so you guys asked me to contact city council and the mayor about having May proclaimed in the city of Lewiston as Historic Preservation Month. And so this is the proclamation language that I came up with, and I want you guys to review and tell me if you think it looks okay. I stole it from another city, so
Perfect.
Looks perfect. I read through.
And so the idea is, so if everybody thinks that language looks okay, they would put it on the first meeting in May for the mayor to do the proclamation. So we would invite all of you to come. I think it would be good for the whole group to be there to, show support for this request.
Yeah, May, is it May meeting?
Yes, I don't know the calendar right here. Whatever the second Monday in May is, the 8th of May. And I would send out a reminder, because I would have to notice for potential forum. No one has any corrections.
No, it looks good.
Sounded pretty okay.
Pretty okay.
It's pretty darned okay.
Pretty good, okay. Okay, so we will move. Okay, so I am gonna make you guys vote on that this is the approved language that I'm going to send to council for May to do the actual proclamation.
And then, so we'll vote on that next month.
Nope, we're voting right now.
Yeah, there it is. So I need a motion, Ed.
I so move
There it is.
that we
You approve the language in the proclamation?
approve the language in the proclamation.
I'll second.
All right.
Thank you, Katie.
So we have a motion and we have a second to approve the wording of the proclamation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Is there someone on other than Aaron?
No, so the first one's us.
Yeah,
Like this. Okay, super, so I will get that on their agenda, we'll go forward with that, okay. So number 2 is Plaques Project Subcommittee, so I'll let Leah take the lead on that one. Everybody got a copy of the first 13 that she has completed. This is what she is calling final draft, so unless you guys have any major changes, the subcommittee did not have any major changes. We felt like these were really good.
Really good, really
Um, So if you guys have any changes, we need to talk about that. Otherwise, I feel like you could probably go forward with approving the first 13, and I will dummy plaque them. IT has created, they're called quick URLs. So that's basically what the QR code goes to. So they've created all 23 for me. We did them by building name as it was on that list. So it's like City of Lewiston / whatever the building name is, blah, blah, blah. So those are created. So once we've approved all of the plaque narrative language, we can start working on the narrative language that'll go in the QR codes themselves, and I can start loading that information.
So the priority is to get the plaques.
Yes, to get that language done and ordered and off and running. So Leah, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, does anybody have anything on this now? We'll address that and kind of get it on.
They read really well.
Yeah, I thought they were good.
The challenge, as I've mentioned before, was that some of the buildings had plaques on them that had all the most obvious information, and so not wanting to repeat it, coming up with stuff that would complement what's already there, so. So that's basically,
You hate to tear down a plaque that's already there.
We're leaving all the plaques.
yeah,
Not
we're
tearing
leaving
anything
them,
down.
so I was trying to make sure the information continued, or, like, it could stand on its own, but it would also complement what was there.
Yeah.
So, with needing to pick up the other 10, I believe it was, I've started on those, and I've got very rough for 7. 3 of them are giving me fits, so, because I just need more information. I was given a lot of photographs, but not a lot of historical info, so I've got an appointment next week to go harass the museum staff and park there for the day and go through everything. So I'm comfortable that I'll be able to glean enough.
Which
To
3
put on those.
buildings are you struggling with?
Pardon?
Which 3 are you struggling with?
Kind of swimming in my head now. Roxy. And I think the Liberty's covered with what just got added because of what Mary had. I'm needing a little bit more on cash, hardware. And
I know there are pictures, but I don't remember.
there's, actually, Old City Hall here is because so much was covered on,
The first plaque.
the first plaque, trying to come up with more than 2 sentences, for the, like, who built it. Basically, I'm just trying to kind of come up with some other things that are of interest that aren't covered already, so.
Could you do something like, what if you found, like, after the building was built, like, who was the mayor when it first stood, or who was the fire chief when it first stood,
That's
or?
kind of what I was thinking, because I have a lot of pictures of, they've added a lot of pictures of the fire station, so there's a lot, like, through over the years, the different styles of fire engines and how the face changed. And it was funny, because she uploaded a picture, I had looked in there and I'd gone and done something else, and I came back and there was more pictures on there, so that was exciting, and one of them, somebody had written the name of the individuals in the picture, and one of them was a family member of mine, so
Oh,
that
that's
was-
cool.
So I admit I rabbit trailed for a few minutes trying to figure out who it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
You're
I'm,
forgiven, promise.
yeah.
so, I'm trying to, last time I took my time because I had it, so I'm trying to
Hustling a little bit more.
hustle more,
So-
and get this.
So the Roxy, does it have a plaque now? It doesn't it?
No, it doesn't have a
Okay.
plaque. So some of the challenges if it already has a plaque, but some of them is just that, like, there's pictures, but there's not
Right.
A lot of
much info,
Yeah.
narrative, and so a lot of times, if that's not somewhere else already, then it's getting into the Tribune archives and digging
Yeah.
through it.
I wonder if
Um,
we could, I mean, that might be just one. And
Oh, yeah.
and da 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 da, but yeah.
What I expect is that for years what the museum's done is anytime an article popped up anywhere, anytime something was done anywhere, they grab it, snip it, and throw it in a file with the name on it, or it's just in a general building file. So,
Okay.
like when we did the letter to the commissioners about the courthouse, I just went down there and they already had all the articles printed out. That was in the file that kind of gave the history of the
perfect.
courthouse through the years, and it had pictures. So that's kind of my first stop, and I think I'll probably get it covered there. I won't have to do anything. So
We found
That's
a
where it's
little
at.
bit when we were looking at buying the Roxy, pre-purchasing or having the gift of the Liberty. There was a little bit that Mary helped us find, so there might be some stuff there, but it was minimal.
yeah.
There were a lot of anecdotal things that came to us from people who worked there and that sort of thing, but there's an awful lot of confusion. There were people, the older people who were trying to remember, confused it with the Granada and the,
Well, it was the Theatorium first, and then it was the Granada, and then it was the Roxy.
Right.
Yeah, obviously it's close to the Liberty, so I think sometimes in people's heads it kind of, they get.
Even just that list of names is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. That would be great.
I saw Jaws there, no.
too.
Scary. I mean, that was scary, I'll never
Everybody
forget that,
in
yeah,
town
I saw
saw
Jaws
Jaws
there.
in the
So once-
1950s, the Roxy was the place.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was even, for some people, it had even more social activity than the Liberty, according to what they tell us when they come through the door of the Liberty, but quite the hot spot. It changed its movies differently than the Liberty did. So quite a story about how they, tried to coordinate those things. But they're all anecdotal and they don't seem to totally match, so.
So, so our next subcommittee meeting is the 13th, but you had mentioned that you might need to change, like moving forward, it might work for you to do a different day.
so far the 13th will work. It'll probably be after that. I might have to adjust it, but I'm not really concerned at this point.
Okay, so do you want to just discuss that at the meeting on the 13th if we need to move the next meeting to a different day? Okay, super.
I just want to tell you that I'm really happy because I had some real fear. I have read some of these building identifiers before that just were so esoteric that they couldn't be read. And these are totally readable. I'm very impressed.
Well, really good.
Appreciate that. I
Good
tried to
job.
take kind of what was out there and then just fix it, modify it and add. So then kind of after I get a good draft of the next 10, I've got my own notes on stuff that we can add for the QR code. I'm at this point kind of envisioning picking the best photos that have been put on the drive. So we'd have a bunch of photos with, maybe one sentence or two. If there's any little tidbits of information that was either too controversial or too odd, maybe put it on the QR code. I have that for a few buildings, like the Kettenbach with the brothel and we're not putting that on the building. but we're-
Ladies of the night.
Yes, putting that in the QR
Well, it's
code,
work.
so
Yeah, really? Can we hang a red light?
I think we can throw a lot onto the QR code to make it interesting, and then if we need to go back and add a better quality narrative, that's something we can.
That kind of stuff
Do
is
towards the
interesting
end.
even for like
Yeah, I think
a
that's part
library
of,
building, that-
Yeah, well, and that's why we want to include it in the QR code, just not necessarily like on the plaque that.
Because, just finding the brocade wallpaper when we did
library?
in the library,
Well, that's what I actually had notes down because I thought, as I was in a tour, I think when it was under construction, and they were talking about how there's basically a room they uncovered that was kind of almost like somebody had walked away that used to live in it. And so I was kind of wanting to run that down a little bit more.
Is that the one upstairs?
It was
where-
upstairs,
Yeah.
like a caretaker, somebody.
Yeah, and they left his shoes there
Yeah,
and the whole
it
thing.
was left there, and so I kind of wanted to share that in there. And then I wanted to look in, because the elevator,
Yeah.
there's the freight elevator. And so being able to say you could, you can't ride it, but you can still go in and see it inside, so
I don't
people
know
would
if
have a
Alexa
reason to
left
go.
any of that stuff that, in any kind of form that you can get. Dawn Whitman might have some of it. Or Lynn would only have whatever was documented at that time.
You might also reach out, CKA Architects was the architect on the upstairs remodel stuff, so they might have some sort of knowledge. I was in permitting at that point, but I remember doing a ton of walkthroughs with them, the building official.
Who was that?
CKA Architects, it was Ben Larson was I think the lead on that
I
project.
thought it was Costello and Company.
That's CKA,
That's,
yeah, Castello Com.
I'm not hearing you, I don't think.
CKA,
CKA.
Castella
Costello
Com
Com.
Architects.
Yeah, and I think, some of us have massive pictures. Huge, I have a huge file of pictures during construction and all of that.
People might find that interesting, because it might be, a little more modern, but I think we
Yeah, I
can
think
point things out.
especially before it's all, the modern stuff is all there, but
Yeah,
I think I probably have 200 or 300 pictures.
okay. Yeah, that might be nice to look
I
at
can-
when we get down to
I can
that.
just give it to you on a drive and you can look at it. Take anything you want or don't want, throw
So
away.
So that's all I have there.
how do we have to word a motion for that?
That you're approving, the
first
plaque text
13.
for buildings 1 through 13 as presented.
So moved.
There it is. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion at all? No?
Just thank you
Alright.
for all your hard work.
Yeah,
thank you,
absolutely.
thank you,
Thanks a
That's
lot.
fun.
All those in favor?
amazing.
Aye.
Any opposed? Boom. Done.
Okey dokey, so,
You're really kind of on schedule with that, is if I'm looking at the schedule.
I think we're just a hair off, because the hope had been to have all of the narratives approved at this meeting. But I think we're chugging.
You were very generous in your schedule, in the way you scheduled out the
I-
QR codes, and so I'm just not as worried about those, and I might eat my words later, but.
Yeah, ultimately, if the QR code to start with is just a bunch of pictures, that's fine, and we can continue to work on it. It's just the matter of getting enough of it done. Because we've had that discussion multiple times about that QR code information has the potential to change, be updated, be added to, et cetera. So as long as we have something in there,
Yeah,
I feel like
I'm
we
not
will-
worried about having
We met the
something.
grant requirement, or we
Exactly.
included in the grant, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
super. So next on our list, Lorinda sent me kind of a fun video that the Lewiston High School students did. So they have their own news program. It's really kind of fun. And so she sent me this.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this is for the Business Professional of America. It's
Oh,
like
BPA
DECA.
does this?
And they just won district on this. And so now they're going to state with this video.
Oh, cool.
So they did a whole news program, and so this is just the section about LHS history. So we wanted to share it with you just because it's fun and it's interesting to see, high school students be interested in this kind of stuff, so. All right, Erin, you can press play, unless I need to press play.
From the old campus have been left to collect dust, which has sparked some outrage in the Elsie Valley. With more on this, we take it to Shay Rogandade.
Right now, we are on top of the old Lewiston High School building. In the height of 2020, during the pandemic, students and staff alike left this building in droves in hopes to move into the new high school building. We see here that this has been abandoned and left behind, but the history is still ongoing.
Can you tell us a little bit about Lewiston High School's historical archives?
Well, the historical archives were an initiative that was started about 30 years ago, but there was no place for them.
In a sit-down interview with Stephen Branting, we learned more about the history behind our high school as well as Lewiston as a whole.
My proposal that the name I use for the archives is the M.E. Williamson Archives. Now, Myrtle Williamson was a history teacher at Lewiston High School for many years. She was very famous. If you're my age or even a number of years younger, everybody will say, oh, we had Miss Williamson. So we call it the M.E. Williamson. Well, that Williamson Archives has all of the Bengals Per, all of the yearbooks back to, the first one was we know there were pieces of it. That's why it's kind of thrown us. There were little bits and pieces of it in 1910.
Once school started on the new campus, a lot of the high school's history was abandoned.
Unfortunately, there was not a lot of interest in the district of saving a lot of stuff. You know, when you get something new, you can forget what's old. See, we've got a new campus, and the old campus just kind of, let's not do anything with that anymore. But that campus is so historic. The whole city, all Norman Hill, built up around two things, the college and the high school. And those, they're just like linchpins. And you go, where are they located even? They're on 9th Avenue. You drive 9th Avenue West, what do you hit? You go right into the activity center at Lewis Clark State College. They were even laid out geographically that way. So we can't throw that away. Archibald MacLeish was an American poet who was American Poet Laureate for a while. And he wrote in a poem a number of years ago, it was men who were dying in the Arctic. And one of the lines he says, make in your mouths the words that were our names.
Coming up after the break, Shay Rogendati took the time to speak with Idaho's first congressional district candidate.
Hey, Aaron, that's the end.
Before the midterm election. To talk about voter registration with young.
Unless you guys really want to listen to voter registration stuff, but the rest of it was not. So I just thought that was fun. Thank you, Lorinda, for sharing that with us. Kind of cool stuff.
They did take, I think, in the library, they have the, is it Lincoln? The statue of Lincoln, I think that's in the new library at they did take that up there.
I wish somebody were doing this with the Civic Theater before it goes down.
Yeah, I know that there's been, like when they first condemned it, I know that some people went in and tried to remove some items, but I think it's just been in limbo for so long that I don't know if a real plan has been made past that. Yeah. Okay. Moving next, staff comments. This is Jed's last meeting with us.
Really?
If not, he's fulfilled his 3 years and he was not gonna re-up. You're gonna go enjoy retirement. So we would like to present you with a plaque thanking you for your 3 years of service with HPC.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure to be on the board. Sorry if I leave anybody in a lynch to not re-upping. I wanted to continue on the plaque program, but I thought it would be best for me to leave right now so you could get somebody fresh and willing to take it on. We can get going on it so we can get it done under the deadline. So, thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the commission, Joe.
So speaking of commissioners moving on, so now we are down 2, and we did do an interview a week and a half ago with a young lady, an LCSC student who's interested in joining us. Ed and Greg interviewed with me and Kathy Schroeder. She was really interesting, so I think she would be a lot of new, excited energy.
Yeah.
So she is on the first meeting in February to be appointed to the body, so she will be joining us in March.
Who is this?
I don't remember her name.
I can't
I've
remember it
interviewed way
either.
too many people lately for.
We have a very impressive LC student working at the museum right now. Oh my gosh. Tremendous.
Awesome. If you have anyone else, we still have an open spot, so.
I was thinking Kathy McIntosh might be a good one. Teacher for years at McSorley.
Yeah. She was there a long time.
Yeah, she's been around that.
Just got appointed to his state historic society.
Oh, Amy Canfield.
Amy Canfield.
She is so awesome. She's like an amazing person.
If you personally know Mrs. McIntosh, then, I would totally reach out to her and encourage her to.
Do you know her?
Come join us. Anybody knows her. And if you know anybody else who might be interested in joining this body, we still have an open position, so spread the word. Okay. Last item is query of commissioners for the March 2nd meeting, which is our regular meeting. And then just a reminder, we do have a special meeting next week on the 9th
In the afternoon,
in the afternoon, 3 o'clock.
because that works.
Okay,
I'll
I
be
wanted to
there.
ask, now tomorrow's that legal meeting for the city again, is that correct?
No, it's at the end
I thought it was
of
tomorrow, okay.
the month. It's like the 24th.
Oh, okay, good, okay.
I can forward you, they just sent that out like yesterday or the day before. I'll forward that. It's on the 24th in the afternoon, so I'll re-forward that to the commission. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? I'm done.
So we just need a motion to adjourn.
I will so move to adjourn this meeting.
We get a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are done. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
That was a lot of stuff in an hour.